All right, so it looks like we are almost all incoming students in here, which is great. Welcome, congratulations on coming to UChicago. Very excited to have you here today. We have 4 amazing offices here who are coming to present to you all on some different academic resources we have on campus. I'm just going to go over some ground rules and then I will pass it off to them. So the first about 45 minutes of this panel will be presentations from the different offices. We'll leave the remaining time for Q&A. Please feel free to keep using the chat for any one-off shorter questions, any comments, introducing yourself like I see a lot of you doing. That space will be watched by our panelists when they're not presenting, so they'll be available to answer any questions. We do ask that if you have a question, please share it with the full group, not just one of the panelists, so that they can answer it to everyone in case someone else has the same question, so they're not answering lots of one-off questions. And then you will also see a question and answer function on your screen, and that's for the end Q&A session. So any questions that come up as you see people present, feel free to put a question in the Q&A. At the end of all of the presentations, I'll give you all a chance to go in, and there's an upvote function. So if it's a question that you definitely want to see answered, make sure that you upvote it. We'll basically then go starting from the most upvoted question on down for as long as we have time for. So just make sure that you're in there engaging with that, and we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. If we get a lot of questions, we'll have our panelists in there typing out answers if they're not answering it on screen. So chat, Q&A, all that good stuff, feel free to use them. I think that should get us started. I'm going to bring up the presentations. Okay, so the 4 offices that we have here with us today are the Center for College Student Success. We have the College Center for Research and Fellowship. We have Student Disability Services and Study Abroad. They will each introduce themselves at the beginning of their presentation. So we will kick it off with the Center for College Student Success, and I will give over remote control to Tracy, or sorry, to Devin. All right.
Thank you, Katie.
Devin, if you just want to kick us off, yeah.
Great, I'm all set. Thank you so much, Katie, and the other folks in the College Programming and Orientation Office for hosting this. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, I'm here to introduce the Center for College Student Success. My name is Devin Moore. I use she, hers pronouns, and I'm the director of CCSS, which is the acronym we use for our center. And we're happy to be here today talking about academic resources, but I also just want to throw out there that CCSS covers a lot more than that. We have a pretty wide-ranging approach, but I guess we think about supporting academic success in the way that we help students navigate issues both inside and outside the classroom that can have an impact on their success. As many of you may know, UChicago is really committed to access and inclusion. You may have heard back in 2014, we launched the No Barriers Initiative, which is when UChicago went no loan financial aid. And in 2019, with UChicago Empower, we went test optional, which, as you may have heard, many other of our peer institutions are now doing because of the pandemic. But we've always taken leadership in this area, and creating pathways for access is super important. But of course, once you get to UChicago, we want to ensure that you have a strong support network and also important resources that are tailored to your needs and strengths. Established in 2015, and I'm trying to advance my slide now, and I'm not doing it super well. The Center for College Student Success works to empower first-generation, lower-income, and/or immigrant students, including undocumented students, providing various resources and support to help students find their success here at UChicago. I will point out for y'all, we use the acronym FLY at UChicago, FLI, First Generation Lower Income Immigrant. The students may identify, thank you, Katie, in any number of ways. And while we do create and host resources designed with Fly students in mind, any student in the college is welcome to use the resources and support structures we have available in the center. I'm going to try and advance my slides, see what happens. All right, if anyone could help me move to the next one, that would be great. So first off, thank you. I just want to highlight 3 of our programs that have the widest reach, since some of you may be in these programs and others of you may have heard of them or be wondering what they are. So first off, I'll just introduce the Odyssey Scholarship Program, which is designed to really enhance various opportunities available to lower income students in the college, including specialized advising and grants. We help coordinate this program, and we are a main point of contact for questions. We issuing Odyssey Scholars various communications and providing other kinds of point of contact over the summer. Next is CAP, which is the acronym, sorry, throwing lots of acronyms out there for the Chicago Academic Achievement Program, which is a competitive program for incoming first-year students. And actually a cohort of 65 students in your class will be joining us starting July 6th for a virtual summer academy with various classes and community building aspects. And then finally, I'll just mention Maroon Mentors. Though all UChicago students are paired with peer mentors through the UChicago Peer Mentoring Program, we just provide another opportunity specifically for Fly students who want to be paired with Fly mentors for a year-long experience, and applications for that will open on July 13th. So those are some of those the main programs that we offer that we want to make sure you know about. But I will dig in a little bit more to some of the other supports that we offer through the center. So I already mentioned Maroon Mentors. Next, I want to introduce the Fly Network, which is basically a network, a gathering, a community of not only undergraduate students, but also grad students, faculty, staff, and alumni, recognizing that Fly identities come into play at all different points in one's life, and creating opportunities to have those conversations and build on those connections. As part of that, we have the Fly Champions program, which is a mentoring / coaching program where students are paired with faculty or staff mentors who identify as Fly or Fly allies. I want to highlight the Butterfly Support Group, which is among other resources we provide for undocumented students, but this is provides a space partnered with student counseling, UChicago Student Wellness, for students who are impacted in various ways by their immigration status or the status of their loved ones. We offer various celebrations throughout the year, including National First Gen Day and various events for Odyssey Scholars. And finally, we I think most impactfully provide just one-on-one holistic support with our staff to various students who have a number of different issues that come up, whether they be academic, social, financial. We are there to offer one-on-one tailored support. You'll see a photo here of my wonderful staff. That's me, Jose Rodriguez, who's one of our assistant directors, and Talia Leggett, our other assistant director. We are a small but mighty team, and we are available for students year round. So I'm going to advance the slide just to show you a quick screenshot of our website, which is ccss.uchicago.edu. And just to give you a sense of how you can schedule an online or phone meeting with us. We actually do pretty much all of our meetings by Zoom now, since it's a platform y'all are familiar with, but obviously phone works too. And that is the same scheduling system as you'll be using to schedule with your academic advisors. So you can also set up meetings with us to talk through various issues. On the next slide, I also just wanted to highlight for you the Fly Network website, flynetwork.uchicago.edu. In particular, just to highlight the Fly Champions program, we'll be having signups for that starting in the fall. And then the directory, which is, if you're curious, we have hundreds of faculty and staff who identify as Fly in some way, who are there, who are listed, who have their contact information, and who are willing to be a resource for you. So I just wanted to highlight that for y'all as well. All right, a few other resources I wanted to mention that we offer through the Center for College Student Success are textbook and laptop lending, first and foremost. While financial aid is generous at UChicago, sometimes the cost of textbooks or technology can still be challenging, and having a laptop is now, of course, more important than ever. So we help provide technology resources and referrals to all students in the college. We also offer a print station to help with the cost of printing, and various emergency financial resources, including food resources for students who may be having issues with food access at various points. And we have a number of different workshops and events throughout the year. Of course, those have been held virtually as of late, but these are all central to the student experience. Students really advocated for our center to come into existence, and they've been really essential to the programs that we've developed. So shout out to Study Abroad. We do a workshop with them specific about funding for Odyssey Scholars. We work with financial aid to provide resources for students thinking about moving off campus and how to budget for that. Tax is everyone's favorite. And then working on with UChicago Student Wellness on issues of imposter syndrome or self-care. So that's just a snippet of some of the events that we offer throughout the year. There is a sign up also on our webpage, ccss.uchicago.edu, for our weekly email, which highlights a lot more events and resources throughout the year. I just want to put a shout out. Student success is a pretty broad term, and we really work to recognize and highlight just the many strengths and identities that students bring with them to UChicago and the many different versions of what success means to them. So we are very individualized. We look forward to connecting either one-on-one or through the various resources or workshops that we provide. There's our contact information down there below, ccss.uchicago.edu, or our website, again, that we hope you will navigate to. Thank you so much. And at this point, I will turn it back over to Katie, who will introduce our next office.
All right, thank you so much, Devin. We are going to move on to our next office, which is the College Center for Research and Fellowships. So we will try to get this remote control working again, but if you have issues, just feel free to tell me to advance the slide. But hopefully, Nicole, you can take it away.
Great, thank you, Whitney. My name is Nicole Fazio. I'm the director of the College Center for Research and Fellowships, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Tracy Nyergis, who is our assistant director for undergraduate research. Let's see if we can make this remote control work. Just bear with me briefly. Katie, it looks like you're still going to have to control. So if you could advance the slide. Thank you. So very, very briefly, we have a limited amount of time. We wanted to just briefly introduce you to what we do as a team, with specific attention, of course, paid to undergraduate research, as well as national scholarships and fellowships. Go ahead, Katie. We're made up of a team of 5 staff, all of whom have very specific responsibilities and roles, as well as a good deal of expertise around undergraduate research and then specific national fellowships and national scholarships. So those are the names of the 5 of us, which we hope you'll fully engage with across your tenure at the University of Chicago. Very briefly, Katie, you can advance, thank you. Very briefly, what we do, you're looking more or less at our in a public mission statement. We are committed to academic excellence in the CCRF, and we support students as they pursue transformative academic experiences through undergraduate research and nationally competitive fellowships. We promote and advocate for meaningful connections with your faculty and encourage mentorship, particularly with faculty and the staff who will support you throughout your time at UChicago. We provide high impact advising, and we spend a good deal of time broadly educating your University of Chicago community about the various opportunities in undergraduate research and national fellowships for all college students and alum. The population we serve actually is all of you. So we look forward to seeing all of you at some point across your career. We are charged to support all current undergraduates, as I've just said, across all disciplines. And then in the world of national fellowships and scholarships, we also support recent alum. So we spend a lot of time making sure students understand the opportunities that they have available to them in the context of major fellowships like Fulbright, following their time at the University of Chicago. Katie, if you could pass us through 2 more slides and 1 more. Great. And I'm going to turn it over to Tracy, who's going to talk a little bit about undergraduate research.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I have to ask Katie to go back 1 slide, if okay. Sorry about that. It's just important for us. We want to share as a student center and an academic unit. It's really important for us to actually identify what undergraduate research is and how we in the College Center for Research and Fellowships, we go by CCRF, so if you hear us say that, how we actually define the activity of academic undergraduate research at the University of Chicago. If we go back, I was just going to briefly read the definition. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. So I just want to highlight a few things here. I am going to briefly read it. Undergraduate research is a scholarly or creative investigation for all you creative minds out there. And it contributes to the systematic production of new knowledge. So yes, you as undergraduates can collaborate with your faculty and be guided to actually produce new scholarly knowledge in undergraduate research. So we do encourage, as Nicole said, that you are guided and mentored by faculty. Why wouldn't you? University of Chicago has some of the best and most world-renowned faculty across the disciplines. But also we want the undergraduate research experience to really enrich your academic curriculum, so contribute to your academic experience, and really help you build really important and valuable skills like critical thinking skills, but also to really understand in your chosen discipline what research methodology really is. So next slide, please. The College Center for Research and Fellowships is your college-wide resource for undergraduate research engagement, no matter what your majors are or plan to be or change. We're here to assist you, and no matter what your year of study is. So we want to give you tools and resources if you want to or even have to engage in undergraduate research, maybe for your BA thesis work, while you're at U Chicago throughout your time and your undergraduate career. So that doesn't mean we necessarily plop you into research positions, but or mentor those research activities that we want you to work with faculty and research mentors on. But it does mean that we can really assist you and support you through, as the slide lies out, education and advising. We have quarterly information sessions that really help you build your knowledge around undergraduate research and your skills to help you progress and develop as early undergraduate researchers. So we encourage you to start with one of our undergraduate research information sessions. Again, we'll offer these quarterly, but those sessions will really help educate you on what undergraduate research at a research institution like U Chicago entails, the value and importance of faculty and research mentorship, really helping you to start fostering your specific interests in undergraduate research. That's so critical. And also, of course, helping you find undergraduate research opportunities and connecting with potential faculty and research mentors. We also offer individual and small group advising, currently all done remotely in this environment, and to help you apply for and fund undergraduate research opportunities. So we also provide research programming to help you develop and advance your undergraduate research experience and skills, especially your ever important written and communication skills, oral communication skills. For example, we offer skills building workshops for research proposal writing, for presenting your research, and the list goes on, depending on what level you're at and the skills that you want to build. We are super excited to now offer an annual celebratory campus-wide interdisciplinary undergraduate research symposium too, for all undergraduate researchers to present and or publish their research. And for those students not yet engaged in research, this will be a good opportunity for you to actually learn what undergraduate research is going on across the disciplines at U Chicago, and also potentially find research opportunities in talking with students and faculty mentors at those types of events. You should mark your calendar, whether that be your mental calendar right now, that our 2021 Research Symposium is scheduled for May 21st. That's a Friday, 2021. And of course, if that'll be live or virtual, that's TBD. We'll have more information forthcoming. We also encourage students, of course, to seek funding for undergraduate research activities throughout your undergraduate career. So we provide and promote undergraduate research grant programs. And we want you to know at this stage that being a recipient of an academic research grant isn't just about the money. We really want to bring you into a research scholars community that we really work to at CCRF to recognize and honor in various ways. And last, but certainly not least on this graphic, is that we work across the college to support faculty and research mentors in engaging undergraduates in their research, as well as supporting all individual departments in their undergraduate research programs and various opportunities and funding. So just keep in mind that we're here to support you for your undergraduate research activity at UChicago. But please know that we will encourage and really challenge you to start developing your interests and motivations for undergraduate research engagement. And it's okay and actually advised from us to take some time and gain some experience to help develop your interests and to even explore if and when undergraduate research might be right for you. But really matching your interests and motivations to faculty and research mentors and specific research opportunities is the most important factor in pursuing undergraduate research endeavors. So your interests and motivations should also drive your other campus and academic engagement activities, including any national fellowships opportunities that Nicole is now going to speak with you briefly about. So thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Katie, could you advance the slide? Great. So I just want to briefly introduce you to the idea of nationally competitive or merit-based scholarships and fellowships. So our office builds on what Tracy's work is all about in undergraduate research and scholarly engagement, and supports students who are interested in applying for major fellowships that support everything from international study and language training, so programs like the Fulbright, to graduate school. And I appreciate this all seems a little bit far off, but the more preparation and kind of academic training and experience you get as an undergraduate, the more likely you are, of course, to be successful in your postgraduate experiences. So we support students applying for things like the Rhodes Scholarship, the Marshall, variety of opportunities that fund graduate programs. Tracy's already talked about undergraduate research. 75% of the major national fellowships available to you actually respond to your research career. So things like the National Science Foundation, Fulbright again, application to graduate school, etc., and then public service. So national fellowships are responsive to these types of areas and these types of commitments that you might develop over the course of your undergraduate career at the University of Chicago. They are generally awarded to students based on your potential for future success, as evident or indicated by your previous accomplishments at the University of Chicago. And again, by and large, without exception, really, they respond to academic excellence broadly defined. And I should just make a note that these are not fellowships that are financial need-based, nor are they awards that will apply directly to tuition. They are very specific to a set mission, and the foundations establish the values and the selection processes. So we want to make sure you understand that the national fellowship side of what we do is not the same as your financial aid office and the variety of support that you'll get through the University of Chicago in terms of support and ongoing scholarships that support you while at the University of Chicago. So that's what we mean by nationally competitive merit-based scholarships and fellowships. Katie, if you could advance the slide. So how do we do it? Like Tracy and undergraduate research, we spend a lot of time in education and advising. So we offer quarterly information sessions and individual advising for select national fellowships. So starting in October, that is to say autumn quarter, you can start attending as many workshops and information sessions as you wish that are relevant to you and the things you're interested in. When students decide that applying for whatever fellowship makes sense for them, we support candidates and nominees through the entire process. That involves very intensive writing support and revision support. These are competitive applications, and so they merit time and energy on the side of the candidate. And then, of course, we are there alongside students as well. We also spend a fair amount of time helping you develop your public speaking skills and interview skills. All of these major fellowships, by and large, require interviews. And then, like the work we do with faculty in our undergraduate research efforts, we work very closely with faculty in supporting them as they write letters on your behalf. We involve our faculty in nomination committees, interview committees, and even mock interview committees when you're in fact invited to interview nationally. So that's more or less kind of very broad stroke introduction to the way that we support students interested in the myriad of national fellowships and nationally competitive fellowships that University of Chicago students compete successfully for every year. Katie, if you could advance the slide. So just lastly, like the rest of our colleagues in our offices on campus, we are currently supporting you remotely. We, in fact, in the fellowship side of the house are the busiest during the summer and are actually quite accustomed to doing our work by Skype, Zoom, and phone anyway, in any given year. And then in the fall quarter, we will be available remotely as well. You can find all of the information about what we do on our website. And as first years, I would really encourage you to join the listserv, which you can do directly from our website. We send out weekly, bi-weekly across the summer listserv announcements about upcoming deadlines, upcoming sessions and events. And then I would echo what Tracy's already said and really encourage you to attend workshops, information sessions, introductory sessions, just to get some more information under you. And then at that point, once you decide to pursue various opportunities, individual advising is available. That it takes us to time. Thank you again for joining us, and to our colleagues for listening to us as well introduce the work that we do. I'm going to pass it back to Katie and your next presenters.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole and Tracy. Apologies for the slide control. So now we will hear from Sharnessa from Student Disability Services. I will try and pass off remote control access again, but I will be standing by in case it doesn't work. Oh, it looks like you are controlling it. Look at, oh, beautiful. All right, I will pass it off.
Okay. All right, great. Sorry. Well, hi, I'm Sharnessa Warren, and welcome to UChicago, everyone. I'm the Director of Student Disability Services, also known as SDS, and I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you some basic information about SDS accommodation services. SDS is located in the lower level of the Campus North parking garage, so when you get back to campus, you'll know exactly where I mean, the parking garage. We provide several supports and services for students with various types of disabilities. Here we offer accommodations and resources that can help level the playing field for students of all abilities. So whether you arrived with a disability or you acquire a new diagnosis while you're at UChicago, or even if you become temporarily injured, SDS might be a good resource for you. I'm not sure if it is working for me, great. All right, so a lot of times we get questions about what is our institutional responsibility, and we believe our institutional responsibility is to ensure that students of all abilities have equal access. So I must mention some of the brief laws that govern this compliance obligation in the area of student access. The ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act. This act defines disability for us and declares that all qualified students with disabilities are considered a protected class and should not be discriminated against or excluded from any of our courses, programs, or activities. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act prohibits colleges and universities that receive federal funding from excluding these qualified students from any of the educational programs or activities on the basis of their disability status. The ADA Amendment Act of 2008, this act actually broadened the definition of disability to be more broadly construed and is more inclusive, resulting in more individuals actually qualifying under the definition of disability. And then finally, there are two federal agencies who help to enforce these particular laws, which are the Office of Civil Rights and the Department of Justice. So that's the background. Additional background that I always like to share with everyone is the a basic definition of disability, because most people don't know that a disability actually is more than just a physical condition. It's a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. Those major life activities can include walking, standing, any of the major bodily functions, sleeping, thinking, and working, which are things that you'll need to do as a student. Many conditions that qualify under the definition of disability are considered episodic or in remission. And especially if they would substantially interfere with a major life activity whenever they're active. So conditions like cancer or heart disease, epilepsy, or even schizophrenia may not always be present at a given moment in time, but whenever they are active, they might be considered, or they would be disabilities also tend to be a long-term or serious health condition. So some of those conditions that are temporary or non-chronic or have short-term effects are not usually considered disabilities or considered a protected class under the ADA, such as like broken arms or limbs or sprains. Doesn't mean that we won't support you, but those are not considered under the protected class. I think the slides are progressing. Good, okay, great. It is moving for me. I think it moved a little faster than I wanted it to. I'll go back. Give me a second. Okay, great. So any student who's enrolled in a UChicago course or program is able to request accommodations. The accommodations will be provided to students who actually come forward and self-identify as a person with a disability under the ADA. Some of the common categories include a physical or a sensory disability, such as a mobility impairment or a visual or hearing impairment. We also provide support for students with learning, neurodevelopmental, and psychological diagnoses. And again, as I said, some of those temporary acute conditions that you might acquire while you're here on campus. Hopefully you won't, but if you do, we do provide support for those as well. All students are expected to engage in an interactive process with the SDS office. So the first step is to identify yourself by registering with SDS. This interactive process will include an intake interview between you and an assigned SDS staff person. In order for us to determine your eligibility for disability services, you will be asked to provide supporting documentation of your disability as well as any history of receiving accommodations. Our staff will review and confidentially store all of your supporting documentation, and if necessary, will consult with your treating physician, therapist, or a third-party reviewer. Occasionally, the interactive process requires a consultation between SDS staff, your instructor, or an academic department representative like the Dean of Students. But once SDS staff have all of the information gathered that's necessary, you'll receive a determination letter of your eligibility for accommodations. That letter is then shared with you and the Dean of Students or your instructor, depending on where you are in your program, in order to begin some implementation of those accommodations. Note that your diagnosis is not shared, only a list of approved accommodations that you're eligible to receive is shared. Some typical accommodations that we provide support for are testing. I think we went a little too far, sorry. I think it's jumping around a little faster than I needed to. Sorry about that. There we go. Typical testing accommodations are testing accommodations such as extended time, note-taking assistance, document conversion services if you need alternative formats of any materials, interpreting and captioning services, parking and transportation, special facility access, special placements for clinical or field site assignments or courses and requirements, teaching assistant and research assistant accommodations, and any of those complex academic adjustments that might be necessary given an episodic condition or a chronic health condition. So we're wrapping up here. I'm sorry, it keeps jumping 2 ahead. I'm so sorry about that. I'll show you a quick screenshot of our website. There we go. Okay, so the SDS website is by far your best resource that you'll have. or one of the best resources that you'll have. This is where you will actually manage all of your accommodations. You'll also learn about how to apply for accommodations on our website, how to become a student employee of SDS, such as like a note taker for another student with a disability. That's right, you can get paid for going to class as a note taker. And then any announcements regarding any employment or internship opportunities that we become aware of, we post those under our announcements page on our website. Finally, okay, it jumps ahead to every time. I'm so sorry about that. I wanted to make you aware of two resources that are campus-wide resources for students, and that is Census Access and Kurzweil software. These two resources are available to you. You just need to contact us. Census Access is an alternative text media where you can convert your textbooks into a MP3 format or another format so that it helps with getting through course readings quicker. And then we also have the Kurzweil software, which is a reading and writing support that's available campus-wide, so you don't have to be a student with a disability to benefit from utilizing these services. Finally, your greatest resources will be our staff, and that is myself and our 3 other directors who are available to assist you with any questions or concerns or any of your access needs while you're on campus. And that's all that I have. Here's our contact information if you need to ever reach out to us. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Katie, who will introduce our next speaker.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that the slide advancer is working almost too well that time. So we are now going to get into study abroad. So I will try to turn the remote control over and see how it goes to Dana.
Great. Thank you, Katie. My name is Dana Courier. I'm the Assistant Director of Study Abroad in the college, and I'm going to allow my colleague Alana to introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. I work with Dana. My name is Alana Kranz, and I'm the Deputy Director of Study Abroad in the college.
Alana will be on hand to answer questions, but I'm going to give a brief overview of Study Abroad and how it works in the college, and hopefully be able to move through the slides. Let's see. Sorry, Katie, I don't seem to be having much luck. I'm gonna keep talking because I do want to have time to chat about the options. Okay. So first of all, I will talk in a minute about the types of programs that we have available, but I want to give kind of an overview of the philosophy of study abroad at the University of Chicago, because it is pretty unique among some of our peers. The goal of study abroad at the University of Chicago for undergraduates is to really situate the Chicago experience overseas, so you don't have to give up any of the benefits that you get as an undergraduate student, physically in Chicago if you decide to study abroad. And really, another major goal of ours is to have the site where you're studying abroad enrich and inform the curriculum, so the courses that you're taking while you're abroad. Just as they are on campus, these courses are very academically rigorous. And much of that is due to the fact that these courses are taught by Chicago faculty. So the faculty really determine, the types of programs that we offer, the courses that we offer. They design the courses and they teach the courses. So like I said, you're really not giving up any of that, of those benefits if you're studying abroad through our programs. Another benefit is the small class sizes. So most of our faculty-led programs are, maximum 25, 26 students per course. So you really do get to have an intimate experience with your peers and the faculty when you're studying abroad. And these are for University of Chicago students only. So again, you're really going to be working with your peers just as you would on campus when you're studying abroad. So if we can go to the next slide, I will talk about the types of programs that we offer. So the majority of our programs are the faculty-led programs, and underneath that kind of bigger category heading, we have a couple of types of programs that we offer. The civilizations programs are probably our most popular type of program, and these are quarter-long faculty-led programs that allow students to meet the civilizations core requirement that all undergraduates need to satisfy as part of their experience here. Thematic programs, and I'll go into what those are in a little bit, also quarter long, and then September programs, which are the newest type of program that we offer, and these are 3-week experiences that take place in September before the autumn quarter begins. And then beyond, programs that are led by our faculty, we also offer direct enrollment programs, and that might be the type of study abroad that many people are most familiar with, where you're actually enrolling in a local university on site at one of the many wonderful partner institutions that we work with around the world, and you're taking courses there with local students, in the local language often, but not always. Many of these institutions are now offering courses in English as well. That can be done, based on the calendar of the local institution for a semester that you may be able to trade for a quarter here on campus in Chicago, or for a full year. And then there are a few intensive language study programs that we offer as well. So I'll talk about those. And then our office also does offer grant funding for other types of study abroad in the summer. So I'll mention those as well. Okay, so if we can keep moving. Okay, so the civilizations and thematic programs, these are our our quarter-long faculty-led programs, like I said, taught by Chicago faculty. As I mentioned, the Civ programs, as we call them, and many students do, can be used to satisfy the Civ requirement. But the thematic programs can be used often to satisfy other core requirements, or for students to earn major or minor credit or elective credits toward their degree. So all of these programs will help you, advance toward your undergraduate degree. Most of these programs are taught in English, so there are no language prerequisites, with very few exceptions. We do have 2 programs, one in Barcelona that is taught in Spanish, and one in Paris that's taught in French for students who are at an advanced level and want to take their civilizations courses in those languages. But aside from that, all of the programs are taught in English. When you participate in one of these programs, you do take a course in the local language. So that is, a major feature of the programs. We think that's important. And that's often the 4th course that you would take. The excursions are kind of the meat and potatoes of these programs, because it allows you to really see local sites that are really integral to what you're learning about. And like I said, the faculty, when they're designing their courses, they design the excursions that you will be participating in. So you really get sometimes access to sites that you would not as a tourist, because the faculty have a lot of great connections, around the world at many museums, archaeological sites, things like that. So you can get a brief sense of the locations and the types of programs that are available, but this is all obviously on our website as well. The direct enrollment programs, as I said, are where you're actually taking classes at a local university. Again, I have the list of locations is here. These are institutions that we have explicit partnerships with. Many students who do these programs are taking courses in their major field of study, so typically in their 3rd year. And many do require some language proficiency, but like I said, it depends. Some of these universities offer courses in English as well. At the bottom here, I mentioned we do have language programs, just a few, one in Spanish in Toledo, Spain, that's offered in autumn quarter, and one in French that's offered in the summer in Paris. We can move on. The Summer International Travel Grants, as I mentioned, these are funding opportunities for students to study abroad, either to do intensive language study, because as you see, we don't have a whole lot of language programming that we offer through our office, or to do research abroad. And again, during the summer when students have a little bit more flexibility in terms of their schedules. So really these grants allow students to create independent experiences, to either find a language program that's appealing to them or to put together a research project that fits their goals, and to propose these plans, for funding. So the awards are $5,000, and that can be used for any aspect of the experience: travel, housing, and tuition if it's a language program, things like that. And we give out about 100 awards each summer under this, the SITGs. Okay, and then finally, like I said, our newest type of program are the September programs, which are 3-week experiences that feature one faculty-led course in various disciplines. So sometimes these change from year to year, depending on the location. For example, in Paris, the focus is law, letters, and society. In Hong Kong, that can vary. In Florence, it's more of a history course. But again, this will allow you to earn 1 course credit, either toward a major or minor, or as an elective credit, and often is open to students of any background. So again, no language prerequisite for these programs. Okay, so just briefly, I know I'm running over my time here, but I did want to mention, how these programs are integrated into your registration, your tuition, all of those things. What's really wonderful about these programs is that you do not need to take a leave of absence to participate in these. It's a very seamless experience in terms of your registration. You stay registered as a Chicago undergraduate. All of the courses, credits, and grades appear on your transcript, and most of the time do count towards your GPA. The tuition is the same as it would be if you were spending the quarter on campus. But in many cases, in most cases, there is an additional program fee, which covers things like your housing on site, as well as the excursions and activities that are planned for you. You do also retain full financial aid eligibility, and often your financial aid is actually enhanced to cover some of the additional costs of attendance that are associated with study abroad. So many students who come into the college thinking, I may not be able to afford to study abroad, we're able to talk with them and explain, how financial aid works, and it really becomes much more attainable, I think, once you sort of understand the full financial aid coverage that's provided. I work on that specifically in our office, so if you have any questions about how financial aid works when you're studying abroad for all of these various types of programs, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to walk you through how that works. Okay, and we can go on to the next slide. So there's just a few more things I wanted to point out. As you're coming into the college as a first year, again, you're trying to manage a lot of information, I know, and plan for a very full 4-year experience. But it's good to think about studying abroad early. I mean, you don't actually have to go abroad, early on. Most students do tend to go in their 3rd year. But it's good to start planning for it now, particularly if you think you will be double majoring or majoring in a department that has a lot of requirements that might restrict the timing for which it would be good for you to study abroad. So start talking with your academic advisor in your earlier appointments about that study abroad may be a priority for you. You'd like to start factoring it into your plans. Look through the program offerings on our website. You can make an appointment. Again, at this point, it would be virtually, but we're happy to do that with one of the program coordinators in our office. So if you look at our website and you find a program that you like, each program has its own web page, and you will see that there is a member of our staff who is designated as the program coordinator for that program. You can reach out to that person and learn, all the details about the program from that staff member. We will send out email announcements as we get closer to the start of autumn quarter, and we will have autumn info sessions where we go over a lot of general information about study abroad, but also more specific information about application and how it works. And those dates and times for those sessions will be announced later in the summer. And then I just want to touch on, I think, some of the most frequently asked questions that we get. So who can study abroad? Everyone. There are no majors for which it's impossible to study abroad. So despite what you may think or have heard from others, we can work with you if you're in any major to study abroad. You can study abroad more than once. We have plenty of students who do more than one quarter abroad. The only limitation we have is just because of the popularity, we can only allow students to participate in one CIV program. But aside from that, really, it's up to you how much you want to study abroad. And you can start studying abroad actually in the spring of your first year. So if you're very eager to go, next year, we can try to work with you to make that happen. And then, all the way through the end of your fourth year, you're eligible to go abroad. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. I hope we still have some time for some questions, but feel free to check, make an appointment with any of us in our office or reach out to us with any questions.
All right, thank you so much. I think you got a lot of our questions answered, which is great. It seems like our Q&A has really been filtered out, so it seems like a lot of questions have been answered. We have pulled a few just in our remaining time that came in with our registration form. So I guess if everyone wants to come back on screen, we'll just go through a few of those. The first one that I'll answer, one, I realized I never introduced myself. I'm Katie Welch and I work in college programming and orientation. So we oversee pre-orientation, orientation, and major events throughout the year for the college. The main question I want to answer is, will there be a recording of the session? I know we have a lot of resources that were on these slides, so we will be making this available. We're just going to add closed captions before we upload it. So it should be available within a week or so, and it will be on the orientation website under communications from the college. So that's where you'll be able to find it if you want to come back and reference some of these slides. So I have a first question for research and fellowships. When do most undergraduate researchers begin their research, and is it recommended that first years, do they start in their first year?
Thank you for the question. Again, I'm Tracy Nyerges with CCRF. I answered in the chat box that there's really not one definitive time that applies to every undergraduate when they're ready to start undergraduate research. So what I said was it'd be great if you want to review one of our undergraduate research information sessions, attend one of those in autumn quarter to kind of give you really some ideas and considerations around when you might be ready. Because undergraduate research is a commitment, so it takes time and you're transitioning into undergraduate. So you want to make sure that you get your footing, right? And also it's really important that you start to think about what type of undergraduate research, right? What skills do you want to build? So those are individual responses. So we could always talk more, but definitely start with an undergraduate research information session.
Awesome. So the next one is for CCSS. Are the resources through CCSS available to all students? And what are some of the main resources that students?
Thanks, Katie. Yes, definitely. Everything we offer is available for all students. I mentioned before that, while our office was created to support FLY students, all students in the college are eligible. And we definitely have a good number of students who come in for various reasons. And we recognize that many identities are hidden and many circumstances change, and we want to be supportive of all college students in their own journeys. Our most popular resources definitely are the textbook lending library is definitely up there, along with our printing station. We got a lot of folks coming out to our social events, like our study breaks and things like that. We've of course adapted those for the current environment. But yeah, we are open. We're an open center on the 4th floor of Harper Memorial Library for all students in the college.
Thanks, Devin. And then this last one is just, what is the process for registering with SDS, and how long does that process typically take?
So the process is an intake interview, submitting documentation, and right now we're doing all of the intake interviews remote via Zoom or a phone call, whichever works, which is a common practice we would do normally over the summer for most of our incoming students. It usually takes about a week. So once you provide us with the documentation and we've met with you to talk through your accommodations, we meet as a committee once a week to review all of the requests that we have for the week, and then students start to receive responses that following week. So that's our typical turnaround. It might be delayed if your request is complex and it needs to be consulted with a third-party reviewer. That may take about 2 or more weeks, depending on the complexity of the diagnoses. But an average around about a week or so after we have everything and we've met with you.
Awesome, thank you so much. So we're right at time. We did great staying on track with our timing. As I said, this will be available on the orientation website. So if you need to go back and access any of the slides or resources that were discussed throughout this presentation, keep an eye out for that. We will be, I'll stick around for just a couple minutes in case there's any last minute things. But thank you so much to all of our panelists. We really appreciate you taking the time to come in and present and talk to our incoming class and provide answers to all of these delightful questions. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone who has come to attend this today. We hope to see you at an event in the near future.
Are we debriefing at all, or we're good?
We're good. I'm going to end the meeting now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Take care.